What up, folks? It's your pal, Coach Vino, and this is the Glass Half Full podcast where we turn setbacks into comebacks. Let's go.
Yo, everybody goes through setbacks, but don't let these setbacks make you take a step back. Step back from the situation, put your brush down, envision the picture you're faith in, because everybody goes through setbacks.
All right, folks, welcome back to the podcast. I am Coach Vino, the people's bartender, your certified coach from the Boogie Down Bronx. I hope you've all been well since the last time we hung out. It is another beautiful day here in New York, and I'm absolutely loving this summer weather. Watching a lot of baseball, man. If you guys don't know, I am a big-time baseball fan, and I live and die with those New York Yankees who can bring me up and bring me down really, really easily. All right, so today on the podcast, I want to ask you guys a question, maybe two questions. Actually, maybe a whole bunch more. But there's an overarching question that I want to ask you. And that question is, how bad do you want it? Seriously. And when I'm talking about it, I'm talking about this change, this comeback, this dream, this goal, the things we talk about so much on this podcast. How bad do you want it? Well, if you really want it bad enough, then I really want you to think about asking yourself the line of questioning that I'm about to share with you. Because when you're making a significant change in life, it's essential that you guys reflect on the various aspects of that change to ensure that what you're making is a well-informed decision. It's so easy to pursue something for the sake of pursuing it, to have change happen for the sake of change. And that's not always the best thing. So what you want to do right now is you want to ask yourself a few questions, okay? So the first question you want to ask yourself is, what is motivating this change? Understanding your reasons for wanting to make a change, that can help you to evaluate whether it's driven by genuine personal growth or maybe just a reaction to something, like an external pressure or influence. When you're making changes in your life, when you're pursuing a dream, making a comeback, you want that to come from a special place, from a place of growth, because you ultimately, what you really should want is to be the best version of yourself. If you're making change for the sake of making change or because of some sort of other external influence, like you see someone else doing well, they have something, you want that. That's not the proper motivation. Because what makes someone else happy, presumably, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to make you happy. So the change you want should come from a good place because it's the kind of change that your heart wants, not necessarily your mind. And so the next question you want to ask yourself is, what are your goals and objectives? Clarify what you hope to achieve by making this change in your life. You have to set up clear and achievable goals, and they will help you by providing direction, and they'll also provide motivation throughout this process. When you set goals for yourself, you can see the finish line, right? And as you check off these goals and you start to achieve all these different things, you start to become more and more motivated, and you need motivation to keep you going. It's easy to become discouraged if you don't see your goals being accomplished. So one hand washes the other. Now, while taking a glass half full approach to life is something that I strongly profess as a coach, and I mean, look at the name of the podcast, you have to also be realistic about things. So you have to also assess what are the potential risks and challenges when it comes to these changes that you want to make in your life. Consider the potential obstacles and risks associated with the change. You need to assess these challenges up front, because then they can help you to develop strategies to mitigate them, and that really increases your chances of success. If you go blindly into this thing, thinking it's all hunky-dory, and, you know, my coach tells me that I can do anything I want, and all these motivational quotes on Instagram and Facebook tell me that anything is possible, What they're not telling you in the fine print is that anything is possible, but you also have to realize that that road is not going to be an easy one. So you have to be prepared by understanding what some of the risk and consequences and challenges are for what it is you're pursuing. And then the next question to ask yourself is, are you prepared for the consequences? Because change often involves making trade-offs, and it involves consequences. So you have to consider how these changes might impact various aspects of your life, such as your relationships, your finances, and your well-being. And then ask yourself if you're prepared to manage these consequences. Are you prepared to spend less time with your family and your friends? Are you prepared for the financial impact of investing in yourself and investing in your dreams? Are you prepared for the loss of sleep, and maybe not eating as well? These are things that you have to think about, and how can you manage them so that they don't become a detriment in your life as you pursue whatever change and dreams and comebacks you might be pursuing. Now, the next thing you need to ask yourself too, as you put together a game plan for yourself, is, do you have the necessary resources and support that you might need in pursuing change? You should take a pen and paper and evaluate whether you have the resources and the skills and the support system in place that can help you to facilitate this change. And these things might include financial resources. Do you have money? Do you have money you can borrow? Do you know where to get money? Do you have an emotional support system? Your friends and family, do they have your back? Are they supporting your dreams? Are they there for you if you need them? And then you have to ask yourself, do you have access to whatever relevant information and expertise is necessary in pursuing whatever it is you want to do? If you're looking for a career change, do you understand exactly what you're getting yourself into? Are you knowledgeable enough to at least fake it till you make it? And that, my friends, is a good time to ask yourself another question. What are my strengths and weaknesses? Reflecting on your personal strengths and weaknesses in relation to the change you're considering is super important. And I'm not just talking about your general strengths and weaknesses. I'm talking about in relation to what it is you're pursuing. Once you have this information, you need to learn to leverage your strengths and how they can help you to navigate any challenges that might come up more effectively, and how these strengths of yours might also help you to accomplish some of the goals you have in mind more efficiently. So while it's great to know how your strengths might help you in accomplishing this change in your life, what you also need to do is to recognize and address any weaknesses that might require additional support or development. So if you see that you lack somewhere, that you're weak somewhere, don't let your pride stop you from reaching out to someone that might be able to help, or to go back and learn something new, or find extra resources out there that could just help you, because you don't want the weaknesses to be a thing that stunts you. Oftentimes, our weaknesses can become our greatest strengths, because the lack of knowing something or the lack of not understanding something doesn't mean that you can't turn that around into an absolute strength. Now, once you've made this evaluation of the first few things that we've discussed, the first few questions, it might be important to ask yourself, have you explored alternatives? Have you considered whether there are alternative approaches or options that can help you achieve similar outcomes? Not everything is always going to go according to plan. So it's good to know, are there other ways that we can accomplish similar outcomes? Exploring different possibilities can help you to make an informed decision and avoid you from rushing into change prematurely. Once you've laid out this game plan and you've kind of assessed it all, maybe you look at it and go, I think there might be another way for me to do this where I'm not making a stupid decision ultimately. Or I'm not sacrificing more than is necessary of you. Or maybe, just maybe, this other approach might be better for you. You might just benefit more from it. That's why running into something with your head down is not always the best idea. You should always have a level of awareness because you never know what opportunities might come your way. Another thing to think about when you're making these changes, especially if they're big, sweeping changes, real life-altering changes, is how do these changes align with your values and your priorities? You need to assess whether these proposed changes align with what your core values are, what your beliefs are, and what are your long-term priorities. Making choices that are consistent with your values, that's what leads to greater fulfillment and satisfaction in the long run. Like for me personally, every decision I make with the idea that I need to have work-life balance and I need to have time with my family. And once I can evaluate that, then the next thing I ask myself is this for the greater good? Sure, I want to make money like anybody else, but am I doing anything to help other people? That's just who I am. If that's not who you are, you need to evaluate what your values are, what your priorities are, and whether the changes in your life or the ones that you want to make align with those. And a lot of times, that answer is going to come from your intuition. So the next question you have to ask yourself is, what is your intuition telling you? You have to pay attention to your intuition and your inner sense of knowing. You'd be surprised what your inner sense knows, what your intuition knows. Sometimes gut feelings, they provide such valuable insights and guidance when you have to make an important decision. I always feel like your gut has been there before, or knows something or remembers something that you learned along the way that you don't quite remember in the midst of making change. And so your gut's going to remind you of what that is. Now, you could choose to not listen to it and think you're smarter than you think you are. But your gut, your intuition, it's a smart son of a bitch. Your brain might have all the knowledge, but your gut has all the wisdom. And the last question that you should ask yourself is, am I ready to commit to this change? You need to really, really think about whether you're truly ready and committed to making the necessary effort and sacrifices that will be needed of you to implement this change successfully. You see, commitment and perseverance, those are really the key factors to achieving meaningful transformation. Without those two things, you're probably just going to find yourself in a situation where you get frustrated, where you get discouraged, and ultimately you just give up. And that could have been avoided most likely had you asked yourself all of these questions that I just asked you. It doesn't mean that asking yourself these questions is going to guarantee you this success and this change and these dreams and ambitions that you have. But what it's going to tell you is that you've made the best educated decision possible before pursuing these things. Taking the time to reflect on these questions can help you gain clarity. It helps you to assess your readiness and ultimately helps you make a more informed decision that aligns with your values and your aspirations. You're not just making change for the sake of making change. So I know this is a lot to think about, and it's really easy to probably hear all these questions and say to yourself, like, I don't got time to think about this kind of stuff. I just got dreams to pursue, and I'm going to go for it. And that's fine. But at some point in that journey, you're going to want to sit back and think a little bit about what it is we spoke about today, so you can continue to be successful at whatever it is you're pursuing in the most educated way and in the most confident way. All right, folks, that's all I got for you today. I really hope you enjoyed today's podcast. And I really hope that you take into consideration what it is that we spoke about today, what I spoke to you guys about today, so that you have a better indication of where it is you're going moving forward. If you or someone you know would like to work with Coach Vino, visit me on my website, coachvinollc.com. Or if you just want to hang out with me on social media where I share my love for motivation and libations, I can be found anywhere at Coach Vino LLC. And in case no one else tells you guys, Coach Vino appreciate you. Cheers.
At times I find it hard to reveal these thoughts and express what I'm feeling in a hip-hop form. But I was born to succeed, so as long as I breathe, ain't nobody on this earth gonna crush my dreams. Yo, this might be the end of the verse, but this is just the start of a new beginning.